All right. Thank you for joining the Chop, where we talk with all the candidates running for city council. My name is Jordan Stockdale of HireHarlem.
I am Shana Harmongoff with Jordan, my co-host. And we have today with us a special guest, William Billy Council. And he's running for City Council District 9. Thank you for chopping it up with us this morning.
Good morning to both of you guys, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first question, we just wanted you to have the opportunity to tell our audience your story and how you came about running for city council.
So for me, I grew up in Harlem. All my generations. You know, some people say 2 generations, 3 generations. I think since I can remember, my family has been here. You know, my grandmother still lives in the same apartment that she lived in when I was a kid, and when she was a kid. And now she's 89 years old, so she's been in the same apartment. So I've been raised in that apartment. My sisters, my aunts, uncles, and everyone's been raised in that same apartment. So I'm a product of this environment. I come from humble backgrounds, but a struggling background. My mom growing up in the 80s and 90s, she was addicted to crack cocaine, heroin. My dad was a avid drug dealer in the community. And for me, I grew up in that era, when Harlem was despair, but also Harlem was this village that made me to the person I am. I went through a lot of challenges in the community. I grew up idolizing the streets and idolizing the people on the streets. When I was 20 years old, I was gunned down in my building in District 9. I was shot 6 times. I had to learn how to walk, eat, talk, use the bathroom. I used to walk down the street with a bag, to use the bathroom. So I understand the issues that plague our community, right? So I have always been embedded, and rooted into this community.
And how does that's such an amazing story that you still overcame all of the obstacles that played a part and I feel like that the stuff that we go through as growing up makes us who we are today, and that you were able to overcome all of the obstacles that you faced growing up. So that's truly amazing. And so I want to know now from you, Billy, is how does everything that you've gone through pretty much translate into your platform and connect with your platform?
So basically what happens is, like, when you grow up in this environment, you grow up trying to figure out, how to get out, right? Usually when we grow up like that, our next step is like, how do we get out of these situations that we find ourselves in? So for me, it took, the violence and that turn for me to realize that I wanted to do something better and I wanted to do something different. So for me, what happened was I translated into basketball and started coaching basketball, right? Because that was something that I love. And with basketball, I always thought that I was saving young people's lives and mentoring young people. But, when I look at them, I was looking in the mirror and they realizing that they were saving my life, right? So that became a huge motivational piece for me, right? So I just wound up, becoming a mentor, becoming a basketball coach, an athletic director. And then I got into business, right? And I realized that our community was thrived off of young businesses, Black businesses when we were growing up, right? I would go to that grocery store and it was a Black owned business. And it was just like, they knew my whole family. They knew everybody in the neighborhood. So I always wanted to be a part of that. So for me, it was like, all right, get involved in, saving your community, get involved in saving young people in your community, be more of a leader and a communicator with the people that's important to you in your community. So that's what I did. And, for me, I got into youth development, right? From youth development, I got into entrepreneurship. From that, I always concentrated on safety, right? Because I always thought our young people were going through the same thing that I was going through, but on different scales, right? So I had to figure out a way how to bring that whole gap together and bridge that gap between the new and the old, because those are the same problems that still plague our community now. So from small businesses to youth development, young adult development, to public safety, all of that, and education, all of that stuff means, so much to me. So I was just like, and I always tell people, when you invest into something, invest into things that you love and that you use every day and daily. Those are the things that we use in our community. And those are the things that I believe is important to our community, right? When you look at the vast of people in our community, all of those things play a huge part in everyday development for all of us.
And so you kind of spoke on this in your answer, but what do you think are some of the main issues facing Harlemites today?
Ah, man, you know what? It's funny because when you think about it, you walk down the street and you always look at people. You want people to be safe. You look at our businesses, which is the pillar of our community, our small businesses, right? Youth development, right? And not just youth development, but adolescent development, young adult development. So all of those things is key issues to our community, and especially housing. People in our community can't afford to even live in our community anymore. So that becomes a big piece on it.
So you said people in our community aren't even able to live in our community. So that brings my next question to gentrification. And Harlem is experiencing lots of gentrification, which has led to some long-term businesses closing, displacement, and some racial animosity. What would your role be to help solve these issues, particularly on race issues?
So, when we start looking at gentrification, in our community, that's like basically that's not going anywhere, right? So those are the things that we would have to do. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to put together, how can I say it? Like I want to be able to make sure that all of us can live together, right? I want to make sure that all of us will be able to have the same opportunities that each other has, right? So when we do stuff like that, I want to just make sure that our community is band together and bridging those gaps together. And the other piece to it is like, I want to, always want to be able to, hire people, hire the expert, planning experts, right? Environmental sociologists to help us understand, how people work together, right? Because like I just said, like gentrification is not going nowhere. So we got to learn how to put everybody together in that melting pot and figure out a way that we all can, be this village that we used to have, right? I want to make sure that that village stays together and come back, right? And that's the only way that our community is going to be safe, when everybody can live together and have the same, be on the same playing field.
Yeah, that's a powerful line. I mean, gentrification isn't going anywhere, and that's a real thing to say to people. And I think that's important to be said. But with that being said, how do we ensure that affordable housing is here in Harlem so that long-term Harlemites can continue to live here, and that folks don't get pushed out of their housing?
We have to secure affordable housing, right? We have to use the AMI determination of rent rates, right? To have the model income to help determine affordable housing and influence private developers to make sure that it is equal for everyone, right? We have to be able to put those things in perspective, because if we don't, we're gonna find ourselves fighting these issues all over again, right? With the developments coming up in our community, we have to make sure that the people that live in the community can have places to stay and places to live and can afford it.
That is so true. So I want to know, what groups are you excited to work with if chosen for the next city council member?
So for me, I want to work with anybody that's in District 9 and everyone that's in District 9. I know that's a generic answer, but when you look at a person like me who has been a mentor and who looks at a lot of grassroots programs that sometimes that are overlooked, I want to work with them too, right? Because our community is not just based on huge organizations, but they're also based on small organizations, right? Like I have been, fortunate enough to be a part of a lot of these organizations and doing community work for the last 15 years in our community. But one of the programs that I love is the We Act program, right? So I definitely want to get involved with them. Harlem Boys and Girls Club, it's a dear to my heart. and there's so many grassroots programs that are doing the work in our community that I definitely want to be a part of, and I want to give them that extra boost because I think it's important.
Yeah, I love your hoodie. So I was looking at the hoodie, Heart of Harlem, and
Yeah.
just wanted to hear what's the backstory on the hoodie.
So the Heart of Harlem is basically my campaign slogan, right? Because if you look at District 9, we the heartbeat. We're everything. Everybody has to flow through the heart of Harlem. So whether you're going to get to the east side coming off the west side highway, we're going to the west side coming to the west side highway, you want to be in the heart of Harlem. When people, come to our restaurants, all our restaurants is in the heart of Harlem. And then when you look at celebrities that come out of Harlem, right? A lot of them come from the heart of Harlem, right? You look at the Apollo. So anybody that comes to, Harlem, on any platform, they go where the 125th Street. That's just like the Mecca for Black people from Harlem. So that's the heart of Harlem. So, I wanted to adapt that name, to make sure that people understand that I'm fighting for the heart of Harlem.
And that's so key. People, when they come into New York, wherever, they always go to the Apollo. And so the heart of Harlem, that's a great slogan to use. And I want to know sticking on the same issue is how do we preserve the Harlem culture?
How do we preserve the Harlem culture? We have to emphasize by keeping the culture of Harlem, right? And then we have to have people to come in to embrace the culture, right? We have to keep our community together, right? It's so important that, we able to reach out to everybody and touch everybody's arms and be able to say, you know what, this culture, this community means a lot to all of us, right? Even for those who are, not from this community, who wasn't born in this community, but they made this community their home. And, Harlem is a place where we embrace everybody, regardless of whatever it is, we embrace them, right? I was brought up on love everyone, care for everyone and share, all of your gifts and your talents with people. And that's what Harlem is here to do. Like we have always been that, group of individuals who just share their community. And I just want us to continue to do that, no matter how we do it, we have to fight for it, and we have to keep it that way.
Mm-hmm. So this question wasn't on the list, so we can move past it. But I'm actually just curious because it's a complicated issue, which is policing in Harlem. In some ends, we want to ensure that we have safety here. In other ends, we've seen police brutality. We've seen that impact on our young people in particular with stop and frisk and that kind of thing. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on what policing should look like in Harlem. And as a council member, what would you do to ensure that we had, I'm going to say better policies. We could say better policies, but have policies that you feel like that actually represents what the community wants.
Policies is one thing, but policies doesn't, help if the people who is protecting us are not holding up to those policies, right? So one of the things that I want to do, I want our community policing to look like us, right? I want them to understand the culture that they're walking into, right? So when you put someone in those positions, they're not so much scared, right? And then you can learn how to de-escalate problems before they arise, especially when it comes to police brutality, right? So one of the things about us in our community, and even me as a Black man, sometimes we are afraid of that uniform, right? And then when you get someone afraid of something, the aggression come out, right? But when you have somebody that look like you, that can talk your lingo, that can make you feel like it's okay to have a conversation with a police officer, then I think that's when, things will start changing, right? So we got to start really looking at what are we, going to do as a community to help, community policing, right? One of the things that I've been talking about for the longest is that the community has to get involved with every officer that patrols this community, right? They have to be able to, before they get on the job, hey, you spend a day in some of these CBOs, you spend a day and just walking in regular clothes, introducing yourself to the community, right? So now when that happens, you become embraced, right? I remember growing up, I would see an officer that knew my mom or knew my dad. And if I was doing something, he would be able to have a conversation with me, right? And, you got to make sure that these police officers are really involved with the cure violence programs, right? Because those are the guys who are on the front line, right? So I think, we need policing, but I think we need community policing who policing are from this community, right? And maybe not even just from Harlem, but maybe from these urban communities where we have the same issues that plagues our community all through our country.
Absolutely. That's great. So how does people, if they want to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
So I'm gonna give you guys my phone number, right? So whoever wants my phone number, you can get in contact with me that way. No, but I'm on. You can visit my website at billycounselharlem.com. I'm on all social media platforms at Billy Counsel, and you can just hit me up and DM me or just reach out to me or just see me walking down the streets or some of our small businesses having lunch, dinner, and having a little orange juice or something, and just I'm around in the community, so you will always see me somewhere.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we got a fun lightning round that we want to do of just kind of random questions we want to ask.
Okay.
So first question is, what's your favorite soul food spot in Harlem?
See, you got to be careful with that, right? Because you guys know that, Cove is my home, Cove is my baby, so, a lot of stuff is going to kind of circle around that. But I would say, I love Melbur's, I love Melbur's. So you got to do Melbur's, and then, you got to do Trinaz. I'm from Harlem, right? So all of those individuals are friends of mine, and I support them all the time. But Melba's and Sylvia's is something special to me.
Okay. Next fun question: Bodega with a cat or without a cat?
Oh, a cat. Got to be a cat. You know what I mean? A cat is the staple in a bodega.
All right. If you could have a superpower, what superpower would you have?
Wow, that's a good one. I think the superpower that I will have is, wow, that's a good question. Superpower that I would have. Maybe Spider-Man. Right?
Like
maybe, maybe Spider-Man. Yeah, maybe Spider-Man, because Spider-Man was able to get into places and people didn't even know that he was there. So, maybe Spider-Man.
So next question is walk, bus, train, or taxi?
Well, growing up in Harlem, we used to have to walk, you know what I mean? We used to walk from 110th Street to 155th Street back, especially around Easter time when you had your new clothes on and the girls is out and you wanted everybody to see your outfit. You know what I mean? Especially when I would go to Dapper Dan and get me a new outfit. So, just walking through Harlem has always been, the best for me. I love walking through Harlem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On that note, you mentioned this earlier about the celebrities in Harlem. I feel like you must have grown up with the celebrities or known some celebrities. So you want to speak on that a little bit?
Oh man, I think I'm one of those guys who grew up with everyone, right? Anyone that came out of Harlem is a friend of mine. Or it's in my Rolodex somewhere. So that goes from Dougie Fresh, that goes from Keith Sweat, that goes from wow, Teddy Riley. I actually grew up in St. Nicholas Projects. Me and Teddy Riley, Rex and Effect, his brothers are really good friends of mine. Mace, Puff, that's Cameron, me and Jim Jones are really good friends. Davies, Yandy is like a little sister to me. So yeah, it's Tiana Taylor, watched her grow up. Me and her mother are really, really good friends. So yeah, so when you talk about that celebrity niche from Harlem, that's something that I'm familiar with in our, yeah.
That's cool.
So thank you so much, Billy, for chopping it up with both myself and Jordan. This was truly fun, and we got to know more of who you are. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, but hold on. I got a fun question for both of y'all. We can't do
Okay,
it before
okay,
without
we're
me
ready.
asking a
We're ready.
question,
We
right?
never had any one of the candidates
Okay.
ask us a question, so this could be interesting.
And that's what's different, right?
That's what's different.
So, Jordan, the first question is for you, Jordan.
All right.
Where was your first basketball game played at in Harlem?
115th and Pleasant, over at Jeff, the courts over there.
In Jefferson. Okay. All right, for you, boss lady, you ready?
Okay.
What is your favorite lounge in Harlem?
The Cove Lounge.
That's it. See, there
is no other. There's no other.
What a way to end it.
The Cove Lounge. There we go.
I was there last night. For real. I legit was there last night. I had the wings. I had the jerk wings. I was there last night. So
why you didn't ask for me? I was probably sitting in the back watching some basketball game.
Oh, I should have.
Next time you come, make sure you both ask for me and we can have something to eat together. I appreciate both of you guys, and I thank you for the things that you do, bringing, awareness to our community for all the candidates. And I thank you guys so much for the work that you do, both of you guys, and I appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you guys. All right, take care. All right,
bye.